We are live. It is ready. Everything is on and going.
Okay, if everybody wants to sit down, there's plenty of seats. If you sign in, Stephen's back here, he's gonna collect the sign-in sheet. Stephen will, call out the names of people that sign up to speak, and he'll be taking, care of the time. We'll give you 3 minutes each to speak. The commission won't be making any comments. We're here to hear your comments or, what you saw in there that you liked or didn't like, whatever. So we won't be making any comments, but, we'll be writing down your comments, keeping track of it like we did last night. And, we appreciate y'all coming today. We had a pretty good crowd last night. We had about 95 people last night. And, so, just come up when your name's called and, give us your comments and, we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming today. So, anything else?
I'm just gonna read this opening statement.
Okay, Richie had an opening statement we read last night. He's gonna do that before we start.
Good evening. This public hearing is being held by the Greenbrier County Commission in accordance with West Virginia Code 8A-7-5 regarding the proposed updated zoning ordinance for Greenbrier County. I'll apologize in advance. This is a little long, but it has pertinent information. On January 22nd, 2026, the Greenbrier County Planning Commission formally transmitted to this commission its recommendation that we adopt the updated zoning study and report along with the proposed zoning ordinance. In that correspondence, Planning Commission President Dan Edwards stated that the following completion of the public input process, including a public hearing held January 21st, 2026, the Planning Commission voted to recommend adoption of the study and report on zoning and the updated zoning ordinance, including minor changes adopted during their public hearing in response to comments received. The Planning Commission's recommendation represents the culmination of a multi-year effort that included development of a public participation plan, study of land within the county's jurisdiction, review of the 2025 comprehensive plan, and evaluation of existing development conditions and future growth needs. Under West Virginia Code 8A-7-4, prior to enactment of a zoning ordinance, the governing body and planning commission must complete a study of the land and prepare a report on zoning. That study must evaluate existing conditions, consider the character of buildings and land use, determine desirable land uses consistent with the comprehensive plan, and receive public input. No zoning ordinance may be enacted without that study and report. The study and report on zoning prepared for Greenbrier County outlines several important findings. Less than 10% of the county's land mass is currently zoned. The existing ordinance dates back to 1978 and contains outdated definitions and concepts. The comprehensive plan identifies the need to protect natural resources, preserve agricultural land, promote coordinated development, address housing demand, and reduce incompatible or spot use and strip development. Growth should be directed to areas with available infrastructure such as public water and sewer while maintaining the rural character of the county. The proposed ordinance is written to promote public health, safety, and welfare, preserve historic landmarks and agricultural lands, lessen congestion, protect flood-prone areas, encourage appropriate development patterns, and ensure orderly land development consistent with statutory authority. Today, we are here to receive your input. It is important to clarify the process. By law, the County Commission was required to present the ordinance as it was transmitted to us by the Planning Commission. We did not have the authority to substantially rewrite or alter the ordinance prior to these required public hearings. Therefore, what is put before the public today is the ordinance as recommended by the Planning Commission. However, I want to be very clear. Several changes will be made following the conclusion of these public hearings. The Commission has carefully reviewed the proposed ordinance and has identified areas where revisions may be appropriate. We expect additional modifications based on the public input we've received here today and the public input we received last night. After incorporating those revisions, the County Commission will schedule and hold another public hearing on the amended version of the ordinance before any adoption occurs. No final action will be taken until the commission has had adequate time to review, deliberate, and make necessary changes consistent with the law and the public interest. This process is not about rushing an ordinance into place. It's about following statutory requirements while ensuring that the final product reflects the values, needs, and concerns of Greenbrier County citizens. We are committed to protecting private property rights, preserving rural character, encouraging responsible growth, ensuring clarity and fairness in regulation, and fully complying with West Virginia law. Your participation matters. This hearing is an opportunity for constructive input. We ask that speakers stay respectful and focus comments on the ordinance provisions themselves so they can be meaningfully considered. We appreciate the Planning Commission's work in preparing the study and report on zoning and the proposed ordinance. We now look forward to hearing from the public before making revisions and moving forward in accordance with law. If you do not wish to speak today, handwritten comments or emails will be accepted in the commission office until 4 p.m. today. We'll now open this to public hearing. Again, remaining respectful and focusing your comments on the ordinance provisions. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for their comments, and Stephen will keep a timer and call you up and let you know when your time is about to expire. Thank you.
Tom Cullen.
I'm gonna pass.
Kevin Anderson.
Turn that mic on over there.
There, can y'all hear me? Good. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Out of the 55 I wrote this down last night, early this morning. Out of 55 counties in the state of West Virginia, it's my understanding that Greenbrier County is one of only 5 or 6 currently subject to zoning ordinances, as I understand it. What's this stands from considerations regarding airport operation, federal funding associated with the airports. I'm going to respectfully ask the commission to consider whether it is appropriate for the residents of Greenbrier County to face additional restrictions on the use of their private property, primarily to meet requirements tied to the airport funding. While economic development and infrastructure are important, they should be balanced carefully against the fundamental rights of property owners. Residents should not feel that they're being overly regulated in their homes, whether it involves the number of visitors they may host, placement of lights over their livestock to face business, or parking a camper in their driveway. These are everyday reasonable uses of private property. I encourage the commission to focus on policies that stand to grow our county and support local families, small businesses, and agriculture, rather than implementing measurements that may successfully or unnecessarily restrict the people who live and work here. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
At 4 o'clock, right, buddy?
Susan Graham.
I knew that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a West Virginia girl, and I'm grateful to be living in this beautiful county. I also own and work so I need to take it a little further. I'm just a little short.
You're good.
I own and work a horse boarding stable on Fairview Road, called Fairhaven. I just wanted to make 2 points. In Article 202 and the definitions section, we define all kinds of businesses, but at no place in number 3, number 50, or number 96 out of the 131 definitions does it include anything about a horse farm. So even though I get up and I'm out in the rain and the mud and slinging hay like I did this morning, they did make me take a shower before I came to work or after I left work before I came here. And I care for animals 365 days a year, blow through 1,500 bales of hay, chop ice off of watering troughs. I'm not a farmer. not by the definitions provided in the document, nor the definitions of the state. So because I'm not a farmer, I cannot operate a commercial farm business. The other point I'd like to make is about the BZA. I have had some experience with the BZA, and I don't mean to impugn the entire body or all of their work, but I do have some recommendations that would fit into 503.07, which, we're trusting them to translate and administer the guidelines, and sometimes there's ambiguity in those guidelines that they're trying to navigate. And I think it would be helpful if at some point, if someone from plans could communicate with BZA. So for example, if you get a permit or an application for a permit that outlines extensively what someone's business intent is, that be shared with the BZA. And my understanding is that's not the way it occurs currently. When the BZA has a concern with a property owner, that they approach that owner directly. So you don't learn about it on the church steps after a meeting from the husband or the wife of somebody who's on the board. That you notify the owner, the property owner, before you make an inspection, and that you do so in pairs so that it removes any appearance of an effort to intimidate the property owner. And this is really important, that you vote after the hearing, not before the hearing, and not share that vote with others in the community prior to the hearing. So my hearing was an hour and 41 minutes long, but I learned that the vote was 3-2. And I learned that from people who heard, 4 people actually, who heard that prior to my hearing. So the decisions were made without visiting my property, because that was done at 5 o'clock when the hearing started at 6. One of 2 visits. And I was not present. I was home getting ready for the hearing. And they may have reaffirmed that hearing. Thank you. They may have reaffirmed that hearing or that vote after the hearing, but it did not. They did have the vote, and it was consistent with their same vote that they had before. And then lastly, that the letter from the hearing as a result of the hearing should match what was said in the hearing. And in my instance, that did not occur. So I just would like some guardrails put in place so that they are professional and represent our county as the way it should be represented. It's a huge trust that we place on them to interpret and guide us through these guidelines. And I would like to be able to know that that's being upheld consistently. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Josh Bennett.
Just lift it up for a little bit, Josh. There you go. Thank you.
I'm Josh Bennett. I'm Hawk Knob Appalachian Beer Cider at Greenbrier Valley Brewing Company. I've been to this meeting in the past. I think the last time I had to come out and invite this stuff in December of 24. And I've already voiced all these concerns, but nothing was taken out. It appears that my businesses are directly focused on here. You've got its own separate section outlining. Oh, I wish it was a little better prepared here, but it is section 402.13 cideries farm wise. So in that section, there's a lot of regulation that's thrown onto my business that supersedes state code. What the planning commission and the zoning board have tried to do here is basically dictate how I'm able to produce my product, when and where I'm able to sell it, what lot size I'm allowed to have an agricultural business. And there's several points of this that I'm not gonna be able to get through in 3 minutes that are trying to supersede and preempt state law. I've already sent notification to Attorney General, to the Agriculture Commissioner and the ABCA Commissioner to voice my concerns with them as well. But some of this involves, under State Code 713FF, counties may exercise only those powers expressly granted by the legislature, only insofar as the powers are not inconsistent with state law. If you can look through section 40213, you're trying to dictate that I can only use agricultural products produced on site. That is not state code. But what I am allowed to use in my products is very specifically defined in West Virginia State Code. If you left your first line in there, it says that I'm supposed to comply with all applicable regulations of the West Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Administration and applicable provisions of West Virginia State Code. If you left it at that, I'd have no problem. And that sums it up. I've also written letters to your offices that goes into greater detail on these issues.
That's the email you sent us, right?
It is, that it also was sent by certified mail.
Right here.
But for me personally, I don't know how to take this other than a personal attack. I know that might sound a little ridiculous to you, but this is very much pinpointing my businesses. And there's, as I said, it's clearly defined in the letter that I wrote. I'm sorry I missed last night's meeting, but I don't want to take up more of your time because I know I'm limited to 3 minutes. I'm more than happy to have private conversations with anybody that has more questions, and I can provide copies of these.
We've got your letter here that you mailed, and then all three of us have your emails, the
Alright.
email that you sent.
Or I've signed it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Robert Biddish.
Hello, thanks again. We were here last night, spoke about, the lighting issues for security, my background security. And lighting will help protect everybody. That's, as a 35 years, security professional. The lighting, you should be able to light your property up as much as you want, because it helps deter crime. We left Maryland, bought a 100-acre farm here because of all the restrictions that we had in Maryland. They were gonna tax the rain. If every toilet you have in your house, they tax. We came from an over-regulated state, and we moved to West Virginia to get away from it. We found out about this whole thing going on, from a leaked, information from the Farm Bureau. So apparently they had a copy of it and they warned a bunch of people, hey, these zoning changes are coming down the pipe. I mean, you guys don't have a problem sending out tax bills, by mail to us to let you know, okay, here's how much you owe in taxes. But it seems like you should be able to send out to every property owner, hey, here's zoning changes that are getting ready to occur too. So that's one thing, but I'm concerned about why all this is coming down. Why do you need to change zoning that was probably already put in place in the 70s, that was already an infringement on people to start with? You're expanding it at this point, and we're talking about expanding it, and it's just going to restrict people with the business aspect. Everybody should be able to have their own business, whether it be home-based or whatever. They shouldn't be limited to having, as a home-based business, one employee. Like I said, we have a farm. That would be a tough thing to do. We also have a dog boarding business. Again, that could potentially be a tough thing to have as far as that goes. You're talking about limiting home businesses to have 8 customer visits per day. For us, that would be 4 customers. That's totally ridiculous and that also includes deliveries. So if I have, a delivery from FedEx, USPS and UPS and pizza delivery guy. You know, that it's not leaving a lot of trips up my lane. You know, I've got 1,000-foot lane, you know, so I'm way back off the road and everything. You know, I complained yesterday about the flag. Hopefully you'll be addressing that a flag couldn't be bigger than 4x6. Or actually couldn't be bigger than 3x5, and to fly an American flag. I think that's that little component of this, that you couldn't fly a flag bigger than 3x5 should make you look at all 110 pages of this and say, nah, this is probably worthy of a toilet. You know, regulation is coming from overregulated Maryland. You do not want that. It is a horrible,
20
horrible
seconds.
thing. So, you know, there's a lot of things in this that just make me shudder, you know, from coming from that state and trying to escape that kind of thing. But I'm also concerned if you're limiting a sign to a 2 square foot, but yet you have all these conditions in here of what windmills, large scale, like windmills could be put in this county, large scale solar panels arrays, which could be put in this county. Right now, the county that we came from in Maryland is building hundreds of acres of solar panel, because Maryland's goal is to become 100% green energy by 2035. And so you're not going to be able to have anything beyond that. And windmills, do we want to see windmills here?
Time.
Do we want to see huge solar arrays that are the size of Jim Justice's you know, farm there? I mean, anyway, so please throw it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Libby Payne. Oh, it's Libby.
Libby.
Mary Catherine Tuckwiller.
Good morning. I'm Mary Catherine Tuckwiller. Thank you for being here. I know that it is a substantial obligation to take our considerations and thoughts into account. In reviewing this proposed zoning ordinance, I have 3 concerns. My husband and I own and operate a cow calf operation on Blue Sulphur Pike, and we are the closest adjoining landowner to Hawk Knob Cidery, which Mr. Bennett just spoke about. Hawk Knob is exactly the kind of business we say we want in this county. It creates jobs, it contributes to our local economy, and it has been a respectful neighbor. If we want young people to stay here, build something, and succeed here, we should not be putting regulations in place that could effectively shut down an agricultural enterprise that is doing exactly that. Second, many of these restrictions create unnecessary red tape and limitations that run counter to the freedoms that we value in this community. Quite frankly, we should not be adopting rules that are more restrictive than what comes out of Charleston. This ordinance doesn't fully recognize who we are as a county. People who run businesses from our homes, steward our land, and make common sense decisions about our property and how we live. Third, some provisions appear well-intended, but in practice, they don't work. For example, because of how our land is parceled, one of our family homes is on less than 10 acres. It technically fronts a road that has now been eliminated, while the back of the house actually faces the road that exists today. Under this ordinance, something as simple as placing a pool would be required to go in a location that makes no practical sense for the property. Good policy should protect agriculture, respect property rights, and support the people creating jobs in our county, not regulate them out of existence. Thank you.
Sarah Woodfin.
Mary is a hard act to follow, but here goes.
I'm going to register opposition to the new zoning ordinance, even though I live well outside its limits. Because I stand in solidarity with those who will be affected, because I believe that overregulation, like cancer, will only spread. We do what we please with our own property, and we share a property line with an agritourism business that definitely would be negatively impacted if this ever creeps outward. Of all things, it was the word equitable used by someone in the comments on a Facebook post about these ordinances that drove me to come all the way down here and do some very unenjoyable public speaking. Finding out that this came out of Morgantown makes me feel like that mindset is what is driving this. And the person who made that Facebook comment claimed that essentially establishing a homeowners association would make things equitable because everyone would be playing by the same rules. Is that not the case already? So more people would now have the same new and improved rules, but I disagree with the principle. I believe that people being able to purchase a piece of property and then having the freedom to decide whether to use it to farm or run a business or just simply vacation there a couple times a year, depending on whether they need to use it to make their living or not, is a simpler baseline. Basically simpler for everybody to get along. If someone is crossing the line to directly impact you, then put on your grown-up pants and use the existing laws to resolve it instead of seeking to create more rules to hide behind, hoping that that will make your neighbor do things the way you want. I have lived in homeowners association neighborhoods, and I assure you that a larger quantity of pickier rules does not necessarily equal better neighbors or equity. There is nothing wrong with wanting things to be nice. But I say those who do prefer to live in a more regulated environment should do their homework and purchase in one to begin with, instead of trying to impose one where it isn't wanted after the fact. To me, what this proposed ordinance effectively does is enhance a line between two factions, those who use their property to earn a living and those who don't. It appears to take the side of the latter by seeking to improve the rural aesthetic, never mind the economic impact it may cause the former. It smacks of gentrification, the consequence of which is often to displace the residents who cannot maintain or do not choose to live under the new system. And I question whether changing the current character of Greenbrier County is the intended long-term consequence of this proposal. And therefore, I am on the side of those who are asking you to throw the whole thing out. Start over with local involvement instead of outside influence. Thank you.
Jim Johnson.
Everybody on your committee knows, at the table knows my history with the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm concerned about things that have been in the past that need to be addressed. I'm not, the one is be consistent in your rules. For example, under residential, page 34, it mentions nothing about agriculture. My whole area out on Hoffnagel Road, on my side of the road, is agriculture. It is not mentioned there, but you go back to Appendix C, page 1, agriculture. It's the first thing that's there. Mr. Compliance Officer comes out and says, you can't do this. It's not in the rule book. It's not on page 34. But I go back here to section C, yes, it is. Those types of discrepancies need to be addressed. Now, I'm also going from the old zoning that is being on the zoning Board of Zoning Appeals. We ran into that constantly. That needs to be addressed. The other thing is existing use. Page 22, section 41. I understand basically that is a grandfather paragraph to grandfather things in. Now, for example, and this is not mentioned anywhere, I have a neighbor that has a little farm. They raise 15 cows, a couple of calves, you know, it's been in the family. They want to keep it going. Their son comes in, they retire. Okay, they retire and want to go to Florida because they're tired of kicking in the snow and the mud. And the son wants to take it over. Does that grandfather clause go with the property? Or does it go with the original people? I didn't say sell here. That's a whole different deal. He is coming in to take over the operation that his parents had already started. That needs to be addressed. The other part of this that needs to be addressed, say he didn't want it and they sell that property. And Mr. Hannah here wants to go ahead and continue the little cow calf operation. Do you go by the existing grandfather clause? Or because it was sold, it goes under the new ordinance? That needs to be addressed. The other thing that's come to my attention, particularly down at my end of the neighborhood, the north end of Hofnagel, the lines need to be definitely defined on the ground of the different zones. There, and I checked this out a long time ago with Chuck Smith, who was the county surveyor. These lines are assumed. The district lines where it runs back on Muddy Creek Mountain and down. He cannot go out as a surveyor and put point A and point B, and that line's right here. Because supposedly the records were destroyed in a fire long time ago.
20 seconds.
Thank you. The other thing is, again, your consistency, look at the appendix. For example, coffee shops, you have cafes and coffee shops in the residential area, and it's conditional in other factions or areas. The other thing is, you need to educate these people. This ordinance to begin with was not something shoved down everybody's throat. It was done in order to arrange for federal funds for the airport back in the 60s. So the updated version of the 78 ordinance, this all goes into effect long before that ever even started. And I've tried to get with Kelly to, who was on the board as a county commission that did that, kind of do a little research to see why they did what they did as far as the zoning is concerned. So that's what I have to offer is, I'm talking from experience that needs to try to keep you all from making the same mistakes as they did. But I do not envy you the position you're in. And I've been a strong advocate because of how screwed up. And I told them that how screwed up the original zoning was, it needed to be done, revamped. And it's taken 10, 15 years to get it done, but let's do it very professionally and in consideration of everything that's being said. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Todd Longenecker.
Good morning, commissioners. I want to apologize in advance, especially to Commissioner Holliday. This is the third time he's had to have me speak or heard me to speak, and I know he's probably getting tired of looking at me. Folks, last night when I spoke, I addressed some specific language within the proposed code updates. What I would like to do right now in my short time, after I spoke last night, I went home and I got to thinking, there's something deeper, a more deeper underlying problem here that I think you're hearing from the majority of your residents here in Greenbrier County. And I'll just say it like this: if the current code is not bad enough, this one will only put it on steroids and make it much, much worse. And let me just tell you this. Based on what I said yesterday, you know that I feel that the county level government needs to, and all levels of government need to promote the general welfare of its residents and its citizens. Okay, so how do we do that and not infringe upon the rights of those citizens? Well, we can promote policy initiatives that actually remove regulations and deterrents from good businesses in our community. And we make the bad businesses that do not promote the general welfare of our citizens, okay, make those a little more restrictive. It would be unconstitutional to tell those particular business, no, you can't do it here, but we don't have to adopt policy initiatives that make it easier for them. And I would just say this, there was a previous commissioner on this commission that when I was still in the legislature, I spent 30 years traveling the world and the country with the United States military. I retired and came home to my beloved Greenbrier County where I was raised in. And I quickly found out that something had changed. Okay, our rules are getting more stringent. A lot of people refuse to buy land here and they'll go right across the border to Monroe County. We have a commissioner that was a previous commissioner that I sent an email to and said, hey, take a look at our zoning restrictions. Because when I was in the legislature, I started researching it because I wanted to know more. And I discovered that out of 55 counties, Greenbrier County is number 2 for the most restrictive zoning restrictions in our state. Right behind Jefferson County up there in the part of West Virginia that doesn't even feel like West Virginia. So look, let's take a look at instead of adopting this, I understand you had to by law get a some research done and get a draft proposal. Okay, maybe you can still use that framework. You guys are within the law. You've done what you needed to do. But now let the community itself, we the people of Greenbrier County, write this draft, because this is probably unlikely we'll be able to do it again in another decade, right? It's about every 10 years. So let's get it right. And, let's not be the second most restrictive county in this daggone state. This is a watershed moment for you gentlemen. This is a watershed moment. You can change the reputation Greenbrier County has with our terrible zoning restrictions by taking this new framework you got from WVU and making it something that promotes the general welfare of our citizens, but it deregulates our small businesses, and we maybe will stop the bleed of our population into other counties. Thank you.
Charlie Long?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Charlie Long. I've been here 76 years and 2 weeks. Well, I had 2 seniors back there. One of them's got a hat on, the other was sitting on the back row with the gray hair, Chubb and Jim. I've heard a lot of comments here in the last night and this morning. And I'm not here to point out different sections of the code. Commissioners, I appreciate you just giving me a minute to express a few thoughts. I'm here concerned about this ordinance that you gentlemen are looking at. But what really concerns me is what's going to happen after you guys are gone. Now, you're going to be gone in another 8 or 10 months, Woody, and you're going to have a new member. In a couple, 3 years, we may have 2 new members. What's the commission and what's going to happen down the road to maybe not me and the older people here, but you younger folks? And I've heard about the business climate. I've heard about the regulations. I'm basically a farmer. I've been in numerous business from commercial to you name it. We got several different businesses, not only in the county, but in the cities. And you know, it's pretty hard to stand up here and say, it's getting to the point to where it's harder to work in Greenbrier County than it is the city of Lewisburg. Now, I don't know, many of you I don't know, but I don't see many faces in here from Lewisburg. Because Lewisburg's damn tough. And the next toughest place, if you want to have a business, is Lexington, Virginia. And if you think that son of a gun's tough, go up to Charlottesville. It's a bear, guys. Now, I don't think we want to structure something that leads us into those structured situations, which a few of you have come from. Now, I know a little bit about what you're talking about, going back into the 60s and the airport and bonding and so forth. And that was basically how the airport got to Greenbrier County, was through bonds, and the federal government would push the commission back in the 60s to and early 70s to adopt spot zoning, which I'll be quite honest with you. I don't know that it's legal to start with to have two districts zoned and not the whole county. If I feel that way, what do you think it might be in 20 years or 10 years from now, whenever we're going to have a complete new commission that says, hey, this is good for Lewisburg and Fort Springs District. It's going to be good for the whole darn county. That will happen. Now, that will happen. The gentleman over here coming, where'd you say you moved from? Maryland or somewhere. And you went through it. Yep. And I'm not so darn sure. I've heard numerous ones last night and then again here this morning stand up and say the university developed this process. I'm not so sure it is developed in West Virginia. It might have been developed in North Carolina. So you might want to take a look at that.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Well, I never did get much done in 20 seconds or 3 minutes either. So at any rate, my concern isn't concern of which way the lights burn or how bright they gotta be or which side you gotta build your fence on or how many acres you gotta sell off of a farm for somebody to be able to build on. All that's gonna come along, but you know, we want to try to maintain the businesses we have here. The old businesses, grandfather me. But we want new ones to come to our county. And you get to the point, and I've fought them. I got a location that I just want to share with you. I might be over my 22nd. I couldn't do anything with it, but unless I pick it up and move it 9 miles to the east. Well, now, 9 miles, you know what that is? That's a state line. But I had to get across the state line to make it appealing to bring business and jobs here. Folks, we got to think about, and you gentlemen need to think about the future. And I'm not prepared. I've read that thing 2 or 3 times. But we got to focus. We need business people from different aspects of business. We need people from the farm community. We need people from the agriculture, from the forestry to help devise this, to try to come up with something that is good for our children and our grandchildren to keep them here, rather than sending them across the state line to get a $15 an hour job working at a McDonald's. Now, come on, let's look on the big picture down the road, not right now to fix the situation. But we need to fix it now and look at it over the long term. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, Charlie. Matt Williams.
Good morning.
Morning.
Few comments I had here were really echoing a lot of what, Mr. Long, Mr. Johnson said. Again, there's a lot of discrepancies in the actual sections. So again, with residential, the section 302.03 doesn't match up with the table of uses, and it says in the document in 301.05 that the text trumps the table. So it's like, again, when you have code enforcement coming out, it's like there's a discrepancy. Like, do you go with thinking of, you know, future generations and the future of this? It's like, well, maybe we have some leniency now, but once this is in code, like, I will tell you, I work a lot with like the next generation, work a lot with students, and they have no flexibility or very little flexibility. It's always, this is what the computer says, or this is what the book says. So they will not be able to potentially understand some of that flexibility and leniency. So once it's in code, just think about again, the future of the commission, the future of the enforcement, for, again, the future residents of the county. And again, future generations, you know, it's once this is enforced, once it's there, I mean, I know it's already got me thinking about, I just recently moved to Greenbrier County because I like the ability to do agriculture. I like the ability to, of what Greenbrier County offers, but it's already got me questioning. It's like, you know, do I need to move somewhere else now? I'm trying to build a farm business currently. And then this pops up that I might end up do agriculture. So again, the zoning really impacts like Old Pal, Davis Stewart, like all those farms out, Old Pal, Davis Stewart, Hoffnagel. If all of a sudden the agricultural use is gone from that, it's like, what does that mean for those people trying to do farm businesses out there? So hopefully it is an iterative process. I know you said in your intro that it's an iterative process. You said there was public feedback taken. Where was that public feedback? It sounds like this study was done elsewhere. Were they just taking public feedback from Morgantown residents, or did they come talk to Greenbrier County? Because they definitely didn't come talk to me. So you know, I'd be curious to know that to be taken into account. What was that public feedback that was taken into account? And if it is iterative going forward, making sure that the residents here have a say in how this plays out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
John Payne.
Good morning.
Morning.
As y'all know, I spoke last night. I touched on some things, and I'm gonna try not to double up and say the same things. But I had said earlier to my family I wasn't gonna get up and speak today. But God put it on my heart to come up here and just tell you a couple of things. First of all, I'd like for you, as you do these ordinances about buildings, campers, tiny homes, whatever, take in consideration the amount of people and then look at all their incomes. Yeah, some people can't afford a Stratton house or anything like that. So I'd like for you to take that in consideration, because our young people coming up, how many 20, 30-year-olds in percentage wise do you know that can go out here and buy $100,000-$200,000 home? They're not. They're gonna go elsewhere to where they can live, make a living, and be comfortable in their life. Just the same as we live now. I'm not ashamed of it. I live in a trailer. And I do have something I'd like y'all to consider when you are looking at these ordinances. Where I'm at now, because of a few people complained, if something happens to my trailer and it burns, I cannot put another one back in. I mean, make a clause, or hopefully you'll make a clause that, okay, under something like this, yes, you are able to replace your home with another single. I'm not saying allow us to put more in. I'm just to replace the previous ones there if something does happen. Because myself, I can't afford to go buy no new home. And I retired after 30 years of working. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that can. Another thing, all these farmers, they gotta have farm hands. are they gonna buy them a big home to live in? No, they're gonna be able to put a small trailer or a tiny home on their property and for a bunk house. I mean, I think all this should be considered, and as the one gentleman said, get it wrote down where the next people come along may not think like y'all do or I do. Yeah, let's get it on paper and try to let people live the best life they can here in Greenbrier County. I know I love it here. I love everything it offers. But I'm slowly but surely, everybody's else getting taken away. I mean, don't push people out, invite people. Hate to say this, y'all may take it the wrong way. I've never seen a picture with Jesus with his arms behind. He's always open arms to invite people to him. Let's make Greenbrier County like Jesus. Let's be well. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Y'all for your time.
Thank you. Tasso?
No, thanks.
Tasso, can you spell your last name for me?
Stavrakis, Stavrakis.
Thank you.
That's me, Tasso Stavrakis. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm an actor and entertainer and a horseman. I got 300 acres and 45 horses out 8 miles. And I don't know how many goats. I think my wife has maybe 70 goats, 100 chickens. We have a farm and we also are entertainers. And since 1979, I've been doing Renaissance festivals around the country. There's more than 100 Renaissance festivals, and they're always good for the community around them. And I was surprised how much trouble we had when I came here. And I'm not surprised that I keep hearing over and over the same things today, and last night here in these meetings. All my points that I had written down that I thought was just me, I heard it all already, Sarah said about the HOA, and I thought that was just me. I went down to Myrtle Beach to take care of my parents when they were dying, and the HOA came to the door and banged on the door and said, "You can't park that vehicle that I just bought, had a wheelchair ramp in it to get my parents to the doctor." And they said, "You can't park that here." And I said, "What do you mean? It's their house, it's their driveway." And they said, "We didn't like the way it looked." So I had to drive it across the highway to my brother's house. But it was okay when the ambulance came and took them away when they died. That was okay because that came and went. So these restrictions, they make everybody feel like we're living under an HOA here in West Virginia, which is just inconceivable. They're kind of invasive and ill-conceived, I think, random and confusing. Pretty much all of us understand that the airport went in and the feds made us put in some kind of restrictions. I don't understand what they are, and I don't know if anybody understands what they are. It's never been explained exactly what the restrictions are and what we need. It's kind of hard to explain to us that somebody's RV is in the way of a landing or takeoff airplane from the airport. So we need to get some clarification on that. That kind of thing seems like one person who is in power who says, "I just don't like the way that looks." And that's not right. I can see that point as well. I walk along in the mile in frontage and pick up beer bottles and trash in front of my place. And that's the only difference between us and Switzerland, is that you don't see trash on the side of the road there. So there's a mindset that needs to be changed, but it's not like going onto somebody's farm and saying, "Hey, you got to move that trailer here in West Virginia, you're going to get shot." So I'm trying to move all my trailers to the back. That certainly impacts me. I've got 16 articles that specifically impact our business and our farm. I'm not going to go through them right now. So I think, can I email them still? Is it too late to do that? I can do that, right? Who are we building for? If we're trying to improve
Greenbrier County for the future and the young children, why the hospital closed down the baby making unit? There's no couples gonna come here if they're gonna have children because there's nowhere to go. So it's little things like that where you're chipping away at the foundation instead of making it stronger. To businesses, that feels like we're being personally persecuted, specifically the cidery, the Renaissance Festival. It just makes it so much harder to do business. Another quick story and then we'll move on. In the 8 years we've been doing the Renaissance Festival, 3 times, and this is not that unusual, 3 times some gentleman came up to me and he said, "Hey, how do you like it here?" Obviously, he had money and he was interested in investing. And I had to tell him the truth. I had to say that, after 10 years of living here, 15 years now, living here, West Virginia has given us 0 help, even though we beg. And Greenbrier County is actively hostile towards our small business and our small farm. And that's not how it should be. I told these guys that I never wanted to come and invest, and I don't know if they did or not. But that was my experience at the time, and I'm just angry about that.
20 seconds.
That's pretty much it for me. Now, Dawn is in Arizona at the Renaissance Festival down there, so she couldn't attend these meetings, but she did email a letter. You want me to read it? Do you want me just to give you a hard copy? How do you want me to?
Take a hard copy or you can email it to us, forward it to us if you don't mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all of them.
All right.
Okay, that's the end of our list signed up. We appreciate everybody coming today. Like I said last night, a lot of these comments that you guys have made today, and the same ones made last night, a lot of were the same things that the 3 of us have penciled, marked, and we agree with you. We all 3 live here in Greenbrier County. Mr. Hannah's farm's been there since 1700, I think. 1787. I've had my farm since 1993. But
I've not had my farm as long because they're a little bit older than me.
Yeah, a little more white hair, but yeah. So he keeps working like he is, he'll catch up. But anyway, we appreciate y'all's time. We appreciate you coming out. We'll be around for a little bit. We've got maps around if you want to look at those. If you've got any questions that we can answer or Stephen can answer for you, feel free to ask us. And but we do appreciate everybody coming.
I'll stick around. Anyone that wants to share other details or wants to bid me here on anything, I'll be glad to talk with you. Thank you all for coming and spending your morning with us.
Just to reiterate, Woody, we do thank you and we do enjoy public participation, even though some people don't think that we do. We like hearing your comments because without those, we don't know what people are thinking unless you tell us. So our next steps we will go and the 3 commissioners will go over all the comments that we've received, the emails, different suggestions. We'll put our input into the ordinance. A red line version will then become available in the next weeks, maybe month or so. And then that will be put out. Then we will have other public hearings on the redlined version of the ordinance. I will stick around as well if anyone has anything they'd like to share with me. Thank you again for coming.
Where will that be put out to? I've had a tough time getting anything off of your website.
Right, so just real quick, our website is being revamped. It should be live within the next month. All of the broken links are fixed. We got a .gov domain. Everything's being revamped, ADA compliant on our website. It'll be posted on our website. We will put public notice out in the newspaper and it'll be on our Facebook page as well. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
For each of us.
Yes, that's. That's it, my prayer.
Thank you. Next time.